It started with a man who wasn't supposed to matter. In Greystone Correctional Facility, inmates came and went like numbers on a screen. Fights, lockdowns, solitary confinement, routine, predictable, controlled chaos. But there was one inmate no one could quite figure out. His name was Daniel Harlow. He had been transferred in quietly. No media coverage. No official statement. Just paperwork stamped and signed at a level most guards would never see. Even the warden didn't ask questions. That alone made people uneasy. Because in a place like Greystone, secrets were rare. And silence was dangerous. Daniel didn't act like the others. He didn't join gangs. Didn't talk much. Didn't react when provoked. It was like he already knew how everything would play out before it happened. And that's what started the rumors. The first incident seemed like coincidence. An inmate named Torres got into a heated argument during yard time. Witnesses said Daniel was standing nearby watching. Not interfering. Just watching. Minutes later, Torres collapsed. No visible injury. No fight. Just dropped. Dead. The autopsy report said cardiac arrest. But Torres was 28. Healthy. No prior conditions. And then people started talking. They said Daniel had warned him. Not loudly. Not publicly. Just leaned in and whispered something no one else heard. You shouldn't be here right now. Those were the words another inmate claimed to have overheard. No one believed it at first. Until it happened again. A corrections officer named Miller. Well-liked. Strict but fair. He had a habit of making rounds alone late at night. Daniel stopped him once in the hallway. You're not supposed to be on this shift. Miller laughed it off. 3 hours later, there was an electrical fire in Block C. Miller was trapped inside. Didn't make it out. Accident, they said. But by then, the pattern was too clear to ignore. Daniel knew things. Things he shouldn't know. Schedules. Incidents. Deaths. Before they happened, the guards started avoiding him. Even the toughest inmates kept their distance. Because there's one thing more terrifying than violence. It's inevitability. Then came the moment everything changed. It was 2:17 a.m. when the security system glitched. Cameras flickered across multiple blocks. Not unusual. Greystone's system was old, unreliable. But this was different. For exactly 47 seconds, every camera feed went black. When the system came back online, Daniel was gone. His cell door was still locked. No signs of forced entry. No alarms triggered. No guards reported movement. It was like he had dissolved, vanished. The prison went into full lockdown. Search teams swept every inch of the facility. Cells, tunnels, maintenance shafts. Nothing. No trace. Not even a fingerprint out of place. That's when things got worse. Because Daniel didn't just disappear. He left something behind. Scratched into the wall of his cell. Not deep. Not frantic. Precise. Like he had all the time in the world. A message. 3 words. It's already started. No one knew what it meant. At first. But then the outside world started bleeding in. 3 days after his disappearance, a news report surfaced. A small town in Oregon. A gas station explosion. No clear cause. Just ignition. The clerk on duty? A man named Eric Miller. Brother of the guard who died in the prison fire. Coincidence, they said. Again. But it didn't stop there. A week later. A hospital blackout in Chicago. Backup generators failed. 7 patients died. One of them? Luis Torres. Father of the inmate who collapsed in the yard. Same last name. Same pattern. Connected. Somehow. Back at Greystone, the staff stopped talking about Daniel out loud. They didn't write reports anymore. Didn't file complaints. Because every time his name came up, something else happened. Small at first. A guard tripping and breaking his neck. A kitchen worker choking unexpectedly. Then bigger. More deliberate. Like dominoes falling. And someone, somewhere, pushing them. The warden finally broke protocol. He ordered Daniel's file to be opened. Not the prison file. The real one. What they found inside didn't make sense. Daniel Harlow didn't exist. Not officially. No birth certificate. No social security number. No criminal record. Nothing. Except one classified document. Redacted almost entirely. Except for a single line near the bottom. Subject demonstrates predictive awareness of near-future events. Containment required. No explanation. No origin. Just that. Predictive awareness. The ability to know what was about to happen. And somehow, he had been locked inside a prison like a normal criminal. Until he wasn't. The deeper they dug, the worse it got. Because Daniel hadn't just been predicting random events. He had been predicting chains. Sequences. Cause and effect. Like he could see how one moment led to another, and another, and another. And maybe, just maybe, he wasn't just watching it happen. Maybe he was choosing where it started. That idea spread fast. Too fast. Because once you believe someone can see the future, the next question becomes unavoidable. Can they change it? Or worse, are they already changing it? By the second week, Greystone was falling apart. Guards calling in sick. Inmates refusing to leave their cells. Paranoia everywhere. Because no one knew what came next. Except one person. The problem was, he wasn't there anymore. Or at least, that's what they thought. Because on the 15th night after his disappearance, at exactly 2:17 a.m., the cameras glitched again. Same duration. Same blackout. 47 seconds. And when the feed came back, every screen in the control room showed the same image. Not different angles. Not different blocks. Just one camera. One location. Daniel's cell. Empty. Except for the wall. The message had changed. The guards stared at it in silence. Because they all knew. No one had entered that cell. No doors opened. No locks broken. And yet, the words were different. Now it read, "You missed your chance." By the time the message changed, it was already too late. No one said it out loud, but every person in that control room felt the same thing pressing down on them. They had missed something. Something important. And whatever it was, Daniel knew they would. The room stayed silent for a long time after the screen stabilized. No one moved. No one spoke. Because in a place built on control, this wasn't just a glitch anymore. This was a message. Directed. Intentional. And worst of all, personal. The warden ordered the footage reviewed immediately. Frame by frame. Every second of those 47 missing seconds dissected like evidence in a murder trial. But there was nothing. No flicker of movement. No shadow. No distortion hinting at interference. Just absence. Pure clean absence. Like reality itself had paused and resumed without explanation. That's when Agent Rebecca Vance arrived. She wasn't announced. Didn't sign in. Didn't ask permission. One moment, the prison was spiraling into paranoia. The next, she was standing in the control room like she had always been there. Black coat. Calm eyes. No expression. The kind of person who didn't waste time asking questions she already knew the answers to. "Show me the cell," she said. No introduction. No badge. Just authority. The warden hesitated for half a second, then complied. Because something about her made hesitation feel like a mistake. The footage played again. 2:17 a.m. Blackout. 47 seconds of nothing. Then the image returned. The message on the wall. You missed your chance. Vance watched it once. Then again. Then she stepped closer to the screen. Slow it down, she said. They zoomed in. Frame by frame. Still nothing. Until. Stop. One frame. Barely noticeable. A distortion. Not static. Not interference. Something wrong. Vance leaned in. There, she said quietly. No one else saw it at first. Just a faint shift in the shadows near the back wall. Like something had been there. And then wasn't. The room went cold. Enhance it, the warden ordered. They tried. But the system couldn't process it. Every time they isolated that frame, it degraded. Like it didn't want to be seen. Vance stepped back. That's not a glitch, she said. What is it then? The warden asked. She didn't answer immediately. Because the truth wasn't something you said casually. It's movement, she finally said. The words hit harder than expected. Inside a locked cell, one of the guards muttered. Vance ignored him. He's not escaping, she continued. He's demonstrating. Demonstrating what? Her eyes stayed on the screen. Control. That's when she asked for the file. The real one. The one marked beyond clearance levels. The warden handed it over without argument. She flipped through it quickly. Too quickly. Like she already knew what she'd find. Daniel Harlow isn't his name, she said. No surprise there. But he's not just predicting events either. She paused. Then closed the file. He's navigating them. The room didn't react right away. Because no one understood what that meant. Except Vance. And she wasn't explaining. Not yet. Instead she turned to the warden. Lock down external communications, she said. Too late, he replied. News is already spreading. I'm not talking about the news. That got his attention. Then what? She met his eyes. I'm talking about him. Silence. Because now everyone was thinking the same thing. If Daniel could predict events, if he could see sequences unfold, then maybe disappearing from a cell wasn't the end of it. Maybe it was the beginning. Pull every incident connected to him, Vance continued. Inside and outside the prison. They did. And the pattern became impossible to ignore. Every death. Every accident. Every so-called coincidence. They weren't random. They were linked. Not by time. Not by location. But by proximity. 6 degrees. That's what Vance called it. Everyone affected was connected to someone else in the chain. Torres. Miller. The gas station clerk. The hospital victims. Each one linked by people, relationships, interactions. Like a web. And Daniel was at the center. He's not predicting isolated events, Vance said. He's predicting outcomes. Same thing, the warden muttered. No, she said sharply. Not even close. She walked to the board where they had started mapping connections. Drew a line from one name to another. Then another. Then another. Until the web looked like something alive. Prediction tells you what will happen, she said. Outcome awareness tells you how everything leads to it. She turned back to them. And if you understand that. Her voice lowered slightly. You can choose where to intervene. The realization hit slowly. Then all at once. He's causing this, one guard whispered. Vance didn't correct him. Because technically, that wasn't wrong. But it wasn't right either. He's not creating events, she said. He's selecting paths. That was worse. Because it meant everything that had happened could have been something else. Different outcomes. Different victims. Different timing. All depending on a single decision. His decision. So why leave the messages? The warden asked. Vance didn't hesitate. Because he wants you to know. That answer sat heavy in the room. Why? Someone else asked. This time she took a moment. Because this part mattered. Because you were part of the sequence, she said. The warden frowned. What does that mean? It means, she said slowly, you weren't supposed to ignore him. The room shifted. Uncomfortable. Because now they were thinking back. Every interaction. Every warning. Every moment Daniel had spoken, and they had dismissed it. You missed your chance, Vance repeated quietly. That wasn't a threat. She looked at the screen again. It was a statement. And suddenly, it made sense. Not completely, but enough. Daniel hadn't been trying to escape. Not at first. He had been giving them opportunities. Moments to change the outcome. To break the chain. And they hadn't taken them. Now the chain was in motion. And it was accelerating. Can we stop it? The warden asked. That was the question everyone wanted answered. Vance didn't respond right away. Instead she reached into the file again. Pulled out a page no one else had noticed. A fragment. Barely readable. But one line stood out. Subject intervention increases instability of projected timelines. She held it up. He's not just moving through outcomes anymore, she said. He's destabilizing them. Meaning? Her eyes hardened slightly. Meaning the more he acts. She paused. The less predictable everything becomes. That should have been reassuring. Unpredictability meant uncertainty. Uncertainty meant opportunity. But Vance didn't look relieved. She looked concerned. Because she understood something the others didn't. If the system breaks, she said quietly, there's no sequence left to follow. No one spoke. Because they all felt it now. That shift. From control. To chaos. And chaos didn't care about patterns. Didn't follow logic. Didn't wait its turn. Then what happens? The warden asked. Vance met his gaze. And for the first time, there was something in her expression. Not fear. Not panic. Something worse. Certainty. He stops choosing outcomes, she said. And starts creating them. The lights flickered. Just once. But it was enough. Every screen in the room glitched for half a second. A ripple. Small. But wrong. And then, one monitor changed. Not all of them. Just one. A live feed. Not from the prison. From somewhere else. A street. Empty. Dark. Rain falling steadily. No sound. Just the image. The timestamp blinked at the bottom. 2:17 a.m. Again. Vance stepped closer. Studying it. Then her eyes narrowed. Because she recognized it. Not the place. The moment. This hasn't happened yet, she said. The warden turned to her. What do you mean? She didn't look away from the screen. I mean, her voice dropped. This is next. And as if on cue, a figure stepped into the frame. Blurry. Indistinct. But human. Standing in the rain. Not moving. Just waiting. The camera flickered. Once. Twice. And for a split second, the image sharpened. Clear enough to see the face. Calm. Emotionless. Watching directly into the camera. Daniel. Then the feed cut. Black screen. Silence. And every person in that room understood the same thing at the same time. He wasn't gone. He wasn't hiding. He was ahead. And whatever was coming next, they were already too late to stop it. By the time they realized what Daniel was doing, the outcome was already locked in. Agent Vance didn't wait. Within minutes of the street footage appearing, she traced the camera source. It wasn't random. It wasn't hacked. It was a live municipal feed. Location, Ashford Street, Seattle. Time, 2:17 a.m. 6 minutes from now. "Get me a line to local authorities," she ordered. But even as she said it, she already knew. They wouldn't make it in time. Because this wasn't a warning. It was a confirmation. By the time you see the future in motion, you're already inside it. The call went through anyway. Police dispatched. Units en route. Sirens cutting through empty streets miles away from where the control room sat in silence. Vance didn't watch the other screens. Only that one. The rain fell harder now. The street remained empty. Except for him. Daniel stood perfectly still under a flickering streetlight. No attempt to hide. No urgency. Just waiting. Like he had all the time in the world. "Why there?" the warden asked. Vance didn't answer immediately. Because she was watching something no one else noticed. Daniel wasn't looking at the street. He wasn't watching for incoming cars. Or people. He was looking at the camera. Directly. Like he could see them. "Because this is where it connects," she said quietly. "Connects to what?" She didn't respond. Instead, she rewound the footage in her mind. Torres. Miller. The gas station. The hospital. Each event wasn't isolated. Each one led forward. Not outward. Forward. Like steps. And Ashford Street wasn't the destination. Was the trigger. "Who lives there?" she asked. The system pulled it up. A name appeared on the screen. Rebecca Vance. The room went still. No one spoke. No one needed to. Because now, it made sense. Not the events. Not the method. But the target. This had never been random. It had never been about the prison. Or the inmates. Or the guards. It had been about her. "You were always part of it," the warden said slowly. Vance didn't deny it. Because she had already reached the same conclusion. Daniel didn't escape. He advanced. Every warning. Every death. Every message. It was all guiding one thing forward. This moment. This street. This outcome. "Why me?" the warden asked. But he wasn't really asking. He already knew the answer didn't matter. Because the sequence didn't care about reasons. Only results. The radio crackled. Units arriving on scene. Too fast. Or maybe, exactly on time. The live feed flickered again. And this time, something changed. Daniel moved. Just one step forward. Slow. Deliberate. Like crossing an invisible line. And the streetlight above him went out. Darkness swallowed half the frame. The officers entered from the far end of the street. Weapons drawn. Shouting commands. But there was no sound. Just the image. Daniel didn't react. Didn't run. Didn't raise his hands. He just stood there. Waiting. For something else. Vance leaned closer to the screen. Her expression didn't change. But her breathing did. Because she understood now. This wasn't an arrest. It wasn't an encounter. It was a point. The exact moment where everything converged. "Stop them," the warden said suddenly. But it was already too late. One of the officers stepped forward. Closer. Closer. The frame flickered. And for a split second, everything froze. Not glitched. Not lagged. Stopped. Like time itself had paused. Then, it snapped forward. Violently. The screen filled with white light. A surge. Not an explosion. Something sharper. Cleaner. Wrong. And then, silence. The feed went black. No aftermath. No debris. No bodies. Just nothing. The control room stared at the empty screen. Waiting for it to come back. It didn't. The radio screamed with static. Voices shouting. Confusion. Panic. Then, dead air. Vance stepped back slowly. Her eyes never leaving the monitor. Because she knew. This wasn't a failure. It wasn't an accident. It was completion. "He didn't disappear," she said quietly. The warden looked at her. Then what did he do? Vance didn't hesitate this time. Because the answer had been there from the beginning. Hidden in every warning. Every message. Every moment they ignored. "He reached the end," she said. The room felt colder. Heavier. Like something had shifted permanently. "What end?" someone asked. Vance finally looked away from the screen. But not at them. At the reflection in the dark glass. Because for just a second, she thought she saw something behind her. Watching. Waiting. The same way he always had. "The one where there are no more outcomes left to choose," she said. Silence followed. Long. Uncomfortable. Because no one knew what came after that. No system. No pattern. No prediction. Nothing. The lights in the control room flickered again. Longer this time. The screens powered down one by one. Until only one remained. The same camera. The same street. Ashford Street. But it was empty now. No rain. No police. No damage. Like nothing had ever happened. The timestamp blinked once. 2:17 a.m. Then changed. 2:18 a.m. And on the side of the screen, just for a second, a reflection appeared. Not on the street. On the glass of the camera lens itself. A face. Come. Still. Watching. Daniel. Then it was gone. The feed cut out completely. No signal. No recovery. Just darkness. And in the silence that followed, one realization settled in heavier than everything else. They hadn't been watching the future. They had been watching the last moment it still existed. And now, there was nothing left to predict,